new LeBlanc, which is the nerf static shiv as well, but you need to have minion DMAT as that secondary rune to be able to one-shot the back wave because of how the item has been changed to being no longer being able to execute on those minions. But we have the Rell, which could potentially also be a flex. However, Jiejie hasn't shown us that coming into this new patch.
But again, we only got 13-13 at the start of playoffs, so further to the point, it'll stay as a flex for now. But still two strong meta picks, right? Kaisa, Rell. A natural response here is Maokai, Ksante. That seems right for OMG, especially when Shanji, at least one of his most played, is up towards that top lane OP champ. It is 13-13, not 13-14. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Is at least now OMG playing between the possibilities because Creme has played the Tristana a little bit, but Abel has played it 10 times. That's the thing. That's what's in OMG's head, EDG's head rather, that they're like, well, this is probably an Abel pick, but for now they're going to play off the power of the flex to keep EDG guessing.
And you also have to consider the fact that because Abel is so happy to have something like the Tristana up against what is going to be most likely an AP Kaisa going that static shiv and also the Gwinsu build to really shut her down in that early game, Creme coming into this new patch 13-13, all the AD champions are extremely strong because of the priority given to the AP carries that we have in the jungle position. The blind Akali coming out of FoFo for this game one.
I guess you're going to say, well, we can handle whatever you throw at us. I mean, FoFo hasn't played Akali at all during the regular season, so for him to pull this out is a big move of gusto, to say the least.
It's quite the interesting decision, I suppose, because you can also think that they're denying the Akali away from Creme, which is a champion that he is very fond of, just like all the assassins that is available in the pool. But we also have to consider the fact that Shanji has locked in Ksante, and although Ksante has been nerfed quite a bit in terms of how he's been able to do the damage in the early game, I still feel like he's a relatively stable champion when it comes to the laning phase, and he's still able to go even at least up against the meta OPs like Jackson or Renekton, which could potentially be removed here as well. But that goes to my point where Ala coming into this series is going to have quite an edge because of his pure champion pool. He has huge win rates on champions like Jax, Fiora, and even Gwen, which all do really well into Shanji's champion pool. So if EDG provide that counter spot or at least give Ala a winning lane for Jiejie to walk towards, I feel like that could be what EDG's approach is going to be in this game one.
I will say, though, if you pick the Gwen, you have too much AP on this team. AP mid, Kaisa usually with the static and the Nashes. Like, we know that it would have to be a full AD Kaisa in that regard for EDG. Just drafting-wise, Kitty, it would be a weird angle. So Arlo showing us his champion pool goes wide as well. We have angles. Kaisa, Akali, Camille. We can talk about that in a little bit in a second. But EDG, this is a spicy game one draft. While OMG are playing what is standard. And this is standard for Abel. If he locks this in against Uzi, my respect will skyrocket. Dom better be saluting right now because this bottom lane, even without the Rell, is just OMG's wheelhouse through and through.
And it's the Galio lock-in for the final champion for OMG. I mean, these two teams are just absolutely cooking in the kitchen as we have the second Galio game into this summer split. It's going to be most likely the Rell going towards that support position with Jiejie locking in something very familiar, which has been the Sejuani. He's been playing quite a lot throughout the regular split, and he is going to most likely lean towards the bottom side, which is a characteristic towards him. But I mean, you have Akali, you have Camille for EDG. They want to lock down Creme, and throwing it back to Weibo Gaming, where I believe it was Xiaohu on the Tristana. All you have to do is focus down Tristana, and if she dies too many times in the early game, OMG's comp kind of explodes.
Man, I just got to say, though, EDG, Kitty, it just is so different, right? It's not even 13-13. It's just a change in direction completely for EDG. We talked about team fighting being OMG's wheelhouse. We talked about the skirmishes and, I guess, the synergistic, you know, to use a big word.
Many years as well. But this one, like you said, elimination match. And whoever wins this gets regional final lock-in.
Let's see, we're on to Summoner's Rift for game one between OMG and EDG in our round two of playoffs. Holy crap. I tell you what, the audience is out in force. And again, whenever it's an Uzi game, especially since he's in playoffs, you know he's going to fill seats. You know that at least 50% of the audience are probably there for EDG's new AD carry. The AD carry kitty that only came in a little bit into the split. Another reason why I feel like, you know, we're looking at how they synergize together, how EDG have been playing together as a 5-man unit. They've only been running this full squad for, you know, like little from week 2 or week 3 from memory.
Yeah, I mean, Uzi returned into the LPL League and joined EDG in that week 3. And it was up against IG, and it was a very convincing series win to add to that. And I'm going to be real, I feel like with Uzi on your roster, the remaining 4 members had so much stress put onto their shoulders. And unfortunately, for the remainder of their split in the regular split, I feel like Uzi's addition to this EDG was very hard to adapt to at first. You could see it from their kind of results, as EDG's identity has always been playing very slow, and it kind of felt like that the play styles clashed, which it took time to mend. However, with this series win in the day 1, round 1 for playoffs, with that series win up against WE, I feel like Jiejie and Ala, they found their form back, and it's looking a lot more promising.
And again, Ala, you know, he's someone who has had that super carry star style in the top side as well. Is now hitting level 2 versus Shanji on this Camille that we didn't really see coming. Trying to abuse the lane already, as meanwhile on the bot side, Shield Round going to get a 2-man taunt. Able full in as well. Now that S rank will give him a bit of bonus stats here, but he has to cleanse away because the second skin was close to popping. And the Ignite also down from Meiko. 1 summoner here each from Abel and Ppgod. Meiko only burning his Ignite is a net win for EDG's Jiejie also popping in.
I'm getting a little bit worried for OMG. This is where the bottom lane is the most vulnerable.
What? Flash, shattering strike, and Abel! Oh, he gets out somehow. He dashes all the way to the back. The W blocked by Ppgod. And OMG's bottom lane survives, but they have to get out of there. EDG supremacy.
I mean, the flash EQ from Abel was so needed, but look at the way he's slowly pushing in now. Both bottom laners have been forced to back, and that is huge from the side of EDG, getting a level 3 gank from Jiejie. And this is a worrying trend in OMG games. If you look at their early game, Abel and Ppgod, they are so vulnerable to early aggression, especially if the jungler decides to kind of visit them early on. But it was the cleanse getting burnt early on. It was the Ignite forced out of Ppgod looking for the 2v2, and because Jiejie started blue buff, he went towards bottom lane, and this Samira, quite frankly, can't be behind if you're up against an AP Kaisa.
Even though it's so bad for OMG's bottom lane, Ppgod saving the day with that W. Otherwise, Uzi gets the auto, Abel's dead, first blood given over, and EDG get all the same here. As Abel's Samira, his iconic pick in this first game, now has nothing, Kitty. Is now behind about 10 CS, like Uzi and Meiko in a great position, and all the fact off that one early gank from Jiejie, but more so Uzi and Meiko pressuring this 2v2 and showing some experience over Abel and Ppgod, the newbies in comparison to Uzi and Meiko.
God, seeing the 0-0 scorelines from both Ala and FoFo, quite the daring choice with these champions coming into this game 1 up against OMG. A little bit more experimental, but hey, that's what EDG wanted as an approach coming into playoffs. They want to flex with more type of play styles and take game 1 by surprise. That's the best things about best of series, right? But I feel like if we look back to OMG versus EDG back in the regular split, it was because Abel's stepping up in that final deciding game when the scoreline was 1-1 as EDG evened out the scoreline. But Abel and something like Tristana pretty much just solo carried the game. So although Creme has the Tristana this time around, which will find constant prio for FoFo to work off, I feel like if Jiejie just continues to play towards that bottom side, because Abel doesn't have the double summoners, it is going to be a little bit scary for the top side of OMG to rely on.
So let's just quickly reflect while we are talking about the Tristana, though, because in hindsight, you know, Creme, yes, winning the lane, but I mean, that 10 CS discrepancy going to be balanced out between bot lane, so OMG aren't down in gold. In fact, up a little bit because Shanji, I believe he got the push into top side turret and is also sitting pretty here with a bit of an advantage himself. Plus, Aki, we just saw on the top side screen, took away the red buff from Jiejie while he was busy looking for an opportune angle up into the top lane himself. So at least OMG still being proactive here throughout the laning phase as level 6 now going to get hit. And Kitty, we know Akali, once she has 6, once she has a lot more tools under her belt, can get this game rolling. So I am kind of curious now to see what FoFo can do in this lane and how he can get set up for the Dragon, for the Herald in this early game, and give EDG that advantage with the Sejuani and a melee laner.
I'm not sure about this Akali pick, especially when you see OMG locking the Maokai. I feel like the team fights would be relatively hard to play out. Creme should be able to get out with the flash and the W to be able to buffer the CC from Jiejie as well. However, we do have a wide pan of the 2v2 here. The patience.
Creme not Wing in, even if it would get him the reset, he wasn't going to pull the trigger. Jiejie now spotted. Aki with a level advantage as well, and especially after Creme's heavy trade, FoFo can't do anything about that as, again, as you said, EDG's bottom lane still in a great spot here with a bit of a CS lead. But it is now the Dragon that OMG had their eyes on, or at least exerting some of this pressure, especially with that mid push here, Kitty. Might be looking to start it up themselves and give a bit of priority back over to Abel and Ppgod in the 2v2.
I would have liked to see EDG utilize the bottom lane priority that they've been able to secure from forcing OMG's bottom lane to reset, and then have a very early Dragon into their pockets, and then using that time frame to also contest for the upcoming Rift Herald, which is going to be coming up in 1 minute. However, we haven't seen that, or at least too much action from the side of EDG. They are going to start it up now, and continuing with the bottom lane priority, I think they should be able to secure this.
At least you'll know that Aki's there in the meantime. Jiejie has a bit more information gathered as Wave is just pushed out, quite large. Abel and Ppgod should be able to clear it out, but again, zoning out Aki on that ward. Dragon going down epically slow though, Kitty, so it does give OMG some time to prepare. And it's just going to be reset. EDG don't want to stick it out again. Your mid laner in comparison is just not there, and Creme always has first move. I mean, look at his CS difference, as you expected for Tristana, but I think even more so, just styling on this first game from FoFo on the Akali.
Yeah, hey, this is what OMG wanted. Now 15 seconds with the Rift Herald spawning, and with both solo laners having that lane pushed in, Aki's just gonna take this Rift Herald with no threat whatsoever, and with the Rift Herald in the pockets, I can see Creme snowballing out of control. So EDG, I feel like they should really consider at least kind of contesting this, because a Tristana with the Rift Herald is not what you want to be seeing in this game, especially with an Akali in the mid lane, where she's just gonna fall even further behind.
You know, we talked about Creme in this split. I know Abel has the most MVPs, but still, Creme is someone who we know for OMG, becoming a bit of a franchise player. Might not have all the MVPs, but Creme has had some sterling moments as well. As you were mentioning, Herald for the Tristana just would not be good, but Aki heading up there might have ample advantage, considering that look at where Jiejie is for the time being. Angling for this bot side, can't do anything for now. Spotted out on a good ward by OMG as well, and as they move that Galio up, who's almost level 6. EDG are now just paying the respect to do the handshake deal.
Yeah, and that's the Ninja tab he's getting picked up by Abel as well. So really respecting the Camille and the Kaisa, which is going to go the Kraken build for this game one. No static shivs just quite yet coming out of the carries, but I mean, that's just how much respect he's showing to the old RNG AD carry in Uzi. But, you know, I have to wait and see, because I still feel like something we haven't highlighted enough in this game one is the Galio support coming out of Ppgod, and we've seen this before in the summer split. I believe it was also from Ppgod. He's been cooking it quite a lot. It was unfortunately a loss, but the theory is that EDG, they want to be looking for the side lane. They want to be locking down people with Ala's ultimate, especially onto Creme, but you have Galio's ultimate to counteract that play. So
True.
Until we have full-on 5v5s, Ppgod, he has to be very active on the map.
I mean, Ppgod, as soon as he gets 6 as well, which he does have now, is onto Jiejie. Creme. Just going to blow him up a little bit. Definitely feeling himself on this pick. Now that Ppgod does have the ulti, let's see what action ensues as he starts moving closer towards this mid lane. Now, folks, no blood yet. It's 10 minutes into the game, and I understand your thoughts. But remember this. There's a Herald in play. Dragon's taken, but we know in the LPL we fight a lot just to invade enemy jungle, just to, again, test vision. Even as both supports are towards this mid lane, expect the unexpected here with that Galio, with Meiko having his ult as well. And Kitty, I will say, I've been spamming Arena non-stop since it's come out in the past 24 hours. 3.5k MR at the moment, not going to brag, but this is the closest I've ever been to like the top 100 in OCE, or at least in any ladder ever. So it just had to be said. I am a dirty, you know, Kaisa abuser. I will say that as well. Annie, a bit OP. I don't spam Alistar, I don't spam the Poppy, but I do spam the Kaisa because she is boss at the moment. But you know, Samira Galio might be an angle later on tonight. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll
Taking
say. That might be the
inspiration.
angle.
Okay, Coach Hysterics.
Yeah, that's what I am. Don't wear it out as Herald finally comes down mid.
Oh, it's rotating.
Well, it is going to be Meiko behind Ppgod, but remember, Ppgod is here. Kinematic's going to be used as Meiko can't get the Fertile Sun. Uzi following up as well. There's the all-in. The challenge is down. Great Hextech ultimatum from Marla gives the kill over to Uzi. EDG pounce, and the Herald play will not be for naught as EDG gets some gold their way.
That's a full-on 5-man rotation coming out of OMG. Honestly, I would have liked to see Abel take a bit more tower plates towards his bottom side because you already have Uzi and Meiko showing in the mid lane. Luckily for them is that Shanji was able to secure one plate into his pockets, might even go for a second up in this top side. But you know, with First Blood going into Uzi's pocket and also sitting on 120 CS, I mean, this Kaisa very happy with the result.
I wish FoFo took the E again. Ppgod nearby, so probably holding on to that restraint for good reason. As you said, Shanji doing so well in the lane in the meantime, even when it's solo, as this is the Herald on the Creme, but EDG weren't going to let him get away with it for free.
Well, EDG has been one of the more critiqued teams in being very slow in the early game, but this is exactly what you want to see out of this roster. 5-man forces in the mid game just to stop the Rift Herald from going over. Unfortunately, the Rift Herald still got the tower plates, and I believe it was into the pockets of Creme, Ppgod, and Aki. So relatively even play, I would say, but EDG, they were able to manage to secure that first dragon, and now, of course, securing some bottom side vision as well to make her wrapping around and getting that deep vision. So we don't have any priority for Aki to walk in and use the saplings.
Shanji, meanwhile, getting solo time with the topside turret. In this lane, he has been having a ball. 30 CS up.
At 13 minutes?
Yeah, I know that Ala made a roam, but it was already starting to happen in the 1v1 lane itself. So not only is that Ksante having a great time, Creme we already mentioned, even better here in the mid lane. And bot side has caught up. It was almost like a 20 CS lead, but I think now it's down to about a 10 CS disadvantage for Abel and Ppgod. Kitty, the early game's looking pretty decent here for OMG. They're almost 2,000 gold up. Yes, they lost that first dragon, but we are seeing first items coming on board quite quickly here that might give them the advantage, bar that one extra item that OMG are able to play with over this next Drake.
This is very uncharacteristic of both top laners. Usually, if you think of Ala, he's on something like the Fiora or the Jax, consistently putting pressure on that side lane and looking for those individual advantages up against his laner. But look at the situation. It's Shanji collecting all 5 plates at 13 minutes. And I feel like this Camille pick, I mean, it's so far behind already, 2,000 gold. I'm assuming Shanji's just going to back and get his mythic as well. And this Ksante is going to become quite the problem because Akali and Camille won't do that much damage right now.
Oh, Shield Duran though. Is it in range onto Meiko? Yes, Justice Punch to follow it up, but instead Nature's Grasp blocked away, but Meiko still gets autoed, or rather ultied for the kill. Creme picks up one and OMG fire off for their first kill of the series. Even get mid lane turret with a good pick hit by the blue side.
And that's both top and mid open for the Tristana. Now you put Creme towards the bottom side. And for some reason and somehow, OMG are the ones able to pick up the second dragon. And they stop the dragon stacking from EDG and throwing it back to how the game started. It was Jiejie making a visit towards the bottom side, getting double summoners out of Abel, and kind of making OMG's bottom lane life situation a living hell. But somehow OMG, they salvage it.
4,000 gold. Like, it's 1 kill a piece, but it's just through those natural lanes that it's 4,000 gold in OMG's lead. And that's wild as we look at the replay. Off the back of this pick, they got almost a 1,500 gold worth of value.
Yeah, you see Uzi coming out of base as well, so this was a 3v4 force coming out of OMG as well. But Meiko not having that flash available from the previous skirmish. Creme picks up this one, and I believe just 8 plates solely from the towers in mid and top, going into the solo laners of OMG. We also have Collector getting picked up by Abel as well, but they are spiking so hard right now with all those mythics coming online. EDG, they're kind of dropping the ball, and I really didn't expect this when we had Uzi and Meiko having that early game advantage.
But what do you do when you have an Akali mid versus Tristana? His ulti forces the flash away by Aki, but he's already got the Herald. So for a summoner, he'll take the miniature purple worm as Kitty. Is it time to talk about the Akali pick? You know, picking Akali on 3, I think, was already questionable. I call it spicy in draft. Spice also burns you. And in this game 1, EDG so far are getting burned. I mean, we've got Camille as an option into Ksante. It's not doing well so far. We know it will scale. We know Camille will do fine, especially with Divine Thunder now getting picked up. But I think my point is, FoFo on this Akali has not done a thing yet.
He has been CSing for the past 16 minutes, but I feel like this Akali pick was a little bit questionable, being the answer into Tristana and Maokai, which is the highest priority mid-jungle duo outside of, I believe, Jace, Ivan or something. But Ivan was open, and we had Jace open for FoFo as well, but I'm assuming EDG, they're just trying to experiment with something like this. But I'm not too sure if it's working, because we know that Akali, I mean, she is looking for those 5v5s. Oh, God. Okay, I mean, I guess.
To be fair, though, I would have been like, why didn't that hit? Elevation, remember, Summoner's Rift does have elevation, if anyone's wondering, between river and between usual ground. That is a thing. Jin's W is the easiest one to kind of watch as, like, W on someone directly from river to standard ground, and it doesn't hit because you have to account for elevation. League of Legends decided to put math in the game. And so I don't blame Meiko for that one. I have the high ground. Yeah.
I mean, just talking about this game 1, we mentioned the Jace. Something else I was led through the first 3 draft was LeBlanc. LeBlanc is often seen as a even matchup up against Tristan in the mid lane. So if you want an AP mid laner, there you go. But, you know, FoFo with the Akali, I guess the theory is that Samira is relatively short range, and you can go for some flanks to really shut down the double AD carries to have extra threat, but it's hasn't been showing up too much, especially with all the tier 1 towers gone this early on in the game.
As you've got a Tristana, so you know that this is going to go as well. Dive from Ppgod. Turret's still there, but now that it's gone, shield is around, keeps EDG in place, and FoFo is dealing with a turret top. But the Herald, as it tries to get another charge, I mean, still going to provide threat that EDG have to defend against. And now, 5,000 gold. OMG are just getting away with free pushing, free lanes. This early game for EDG has been nothing, if not for bot. Uzi's probably mad. He's like, guys, I know we need to scale, but right now I am the only useful person on Summoner's Rift for our team.
I mean, Uzi should be out here shouting, guys, we shouldn't be giving tier 2 tower in the bottom lane at 18 minutes. I don't know what's happening with EDG right now. I mean, I think we've seen a singular Sejuani Glacial Prism once in the past 10 minutes, honestly. As you also have to consider the fact that, OMG, they picked up both Rift Heralds. A bit of a force coming out of the EDG squad, though.
But FoFo, I mean, it's into a Galio, so MR is going to be just easy to be acquired, or rather we know what the Galio passive is. So not much damage done, and he just walks out of it. Ppgod absorbing a little bit as 30 seconds till Dragon. EDG want to exert some of their force themselves. But OMG still walking in. They've got defensive side vision that'll help them claw in. And look at topside, Kitty. Creme with teleport is able to put pressure on the inner turret. And so EDG have to respect that, okay, if we leave this Tristana in side lane, he will outpush us. Inhibitor's probably going to be gone. And all for a third Dragon where we've only got one ourselves.
And Creme, he just picked up his Nobori as that second item, an entire item ahead of FoFo coming into this fight as well. He also burnt the TP, so FoFo's going to walk down. But with the Maokai already starting the objective, how do you walk in here?
Aki with a great ulti himself. OMG take it with ease. Nature's Grasp finds a cheeky Camille on the backhand, and Creme just destroys him. EDG is split away as Meiko gets an ult in. It's on Abel, but he's already hit the S rank. The trigger's pulled, and right into his predecessor, he blows him up. As now for Uzi, getting the Creme-tastic experience. It's so easy. EDG a challenge for this team or what?
Alright guys, let's wrap it up. I think the Akali and Camille have been completely read like a book by OMG. That's the Baron, that's a 5-man ace. At 20 minutes, might I add, and I feel like the bleeding from the early game, they can't really salvage it anymore, Hysterics.
Just don't pick Akali on 3. I think we all agree we could be bronze, we could be iron, but we know what the meta's playing at the moment. We know what this Akali gave to EDG. The answer is not much. Kitty, this is just so easy for OMG.
Protect the president. You had Ppgod just ulting in from afar. Honestly, a lot of Venn diagrams happening for OMG as well, but in this exact position was where the Tristana absolutely destroyed EDG in that summer regular series, and once again it's happening. It's a kryptonite. It's happening again. History is rewriting itself.
God. I like this. Maybe a little bit of a counter against the Rell is interrupted. Meiko struggling to get out of there while Jiejie's left behind. Abel's now getting free real estate as Brazil on the score to get us to a 10k gold lead. At 21 minutes in, OMG are making this look easy, and they are the 5th seed for a reason, Kitty. Like, EDG struggled their way towards playoffs. OMG were chilling at 11-5. And again, this team's development cannot be understated throughout this year. They are walking over EDG, and it's not funny.
And the confusing thing is, EDG looked pretty good in their series up against WE, and specifically in Jiejie and Ala. However, they're completely missing in this game one. Jiejie not around the map at all. One Sejuani has been used in this entire 22 minutes, and I feel like Ala and this Camille, Shanji's a little bit caught out, but Ala and this Camille not doing too much either.
Abel's just away from his team behind enemy lines. And not much is said as Arla runs on in. There we go. An ulti comes through as Ppgod flashes away. Abel's damage, even just auto-attacking away, does significant work to Arla. With this 10k gold lead, EDG still want to walk in and find a pick, but OMG, despite losing a bit of their health, it doesn't really matter, does it?
It really doesn't, especially having the Baron in hand as well. Tier 3 tower gone.
Okay, well, at least EDG are going to get some kills now. FoFo tries to ulti out, but I think he's blocked as Shanji in the net. But as he's flipped on back, the all-out use. Oh, Shanji's now mad as Creme is firing away, blasted out. Uzi burning, but survives. If only just in the end, he ticks down as in 23 minutes in our LPL playoffs, OMG are going to double TP back in. This is a domination. Dom should be saluting, should be standing up. I know Cage will dress for a funeral today, but it might be a wedding. Dom with a white suit, OMG with glee. And in game one against EDG in 23.5 minutes, this wasn't even close.
OMG fans already popping the champagne. What a domination of a game. Up against EDG, they just gave them no opportunities, and it really just felt like a one-sided match from start to finish.